debate or interpellation, I move that we refer to the Committee on Ethics.
Okay. Before I act on the motion, I want to emphasize that the speech of Senator Trillanes is a good illustration of the use of video clipping. We have a new rule, Resolution number 21, which limits the use of videos and other films, video clips, multimedia to 30 minutes. And he consumed 27 minutes. So the new rule was not violated. But we are monitoring the length of time of the video clips and other footages that is incorporated in a speech. So
Thank you for reminding the members, Mr. President, because precisely I formulated and I presented that particular new rule into the rules because we might just have a filibuster and somebody can play the Ten Commandments, the movie Ten Commandments.
We were monitoring 2 time limits for video clips, 30 minutes, and for the entire privileged speech, 1 hour. Okay, so any objection to the motion to refer the speech to the Ethics Committee? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Senator Gordon,
Senator Gordon is recognized.
Mr. President, I'm glad that the majority floor leader, in his wisdom, has said that it should be referred to the committee because that's where it belongs. My point here lang is I'm not going to reply to it. I will not even dignify it because the proper venue will be in the committee. I just would like to take umbrage at the fact that this representation has been a volunteer of the Red Cross for almost 50 years since I graduated from college, and I followed the footsteps of my mother in the Red Cross. I've seen many events in my life where we've been in earthquakes, we've seen suffering, we've been in floods, volcanic eruptions, shipwrecks. We've been everywhere, even abroad, Mr. President. And this representation was elected chairman of the Philippine Red Cross. I am a volunteer, Mr. President. I do not get any salary or allowances from the Philippine Red Cross. I use my time efficiently, and when I'm senator, I try to make use of my time, not in idle, occupations. I think Senator Subiri and Senator Gatchalian will bear me out. All my moments are spent trying to fashion out a better service for the Red Cross, especially these days when we have problems in Malawi. And that is why I would like to put it on record here that I'm also a governor of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. That is an honor that I feel very, very proud of. And I've been awarded by the Japanese Red Cross and by the Philippine Red Cross and by the Philippine Volunteer Movement, all these things. I just appeal to any senator in the hall to be very, very careful. You can hurt me, but do not hurt the movement. We try very hard to make sure na ang Red Cross ay hindi masasaktan kahit na kailan. Mr. President, I once appeared on a television commercial in Procter & Gamble, of which was my first job. I was asking money from the Procter & Gamble people to provide us with a contribution because at that time we were having shortages in money. At that time it was not in the budget of the Procter & Gamble people to provide resources. I introduced Safeguard into the country as a Procter & Gamble brand man. And so I asked them, are you making any initiative with Safeguard? And they said yes. So I volunteered and I said, why don't you make me the pitch man? I will push Safeguard and we can talk about it later, what if you are going to give anything. Mr. President, I appeared in that commercial. And when it was done, the Procter & Gamble folks called me and gave me 12 million pesos in the name of Attorney Richard Gordon. And I returned that check, Mr. President. And I said, please replace the check in favor of the Philippine Red Cross, because that's where it should belong. I'm not saying that to say I'm a martyr or I'm trying to get a pat in the back. I try not to do that. Every day people help. I forget whom I help. I've helped friends and enemies. But to malign the Red Cross in this hall, Mr. President, and that has always been the problem of certain individuals, particularly the gentleman who gave the privileged speech. He thinks that he does his job by making sure that his conclusions are in his mind, and when he asks questions, he thinks that he's already proven his point. That's why he's having a hard time trying to understand what hearsay is. You can imagine if we accept all the hearsay, we will be investigating forever and be chasing after shadows, Mr. President. And I understand that because he's a lawyer. He never made it to the University of the Philippines as a law school graduate. It's hard to make it there. He never made it to any college of law. It's hard to be a lawyer, Mr. President, because there are technical terms. And I can appreciate the fact that it is a convenient excuse, perhaps, to hide behind ignorance and sometimes even stupidity to be able to protect oneself. And so, Mr. President, I don't want to go any further. I think the case has been brought. Far be it from my mind to hurt anybody here. Again, when I filed that ethics complaint, I filed it to protect the Senate, to protect the Blue Ribbon Committee, the dignity of the Blue Ribbon Committee. I would not want it seen later on that nobody would want to come because we keep asking them questions that are not allowed. I would not want them not to come because names have been mentioned here, and I'm not going to mention it again. I just want to end here. It is in protection of the dignity of the Senate and my own self that I'm a senator, and I'm proud to be a senator, and I try my darndest best every day to work more than the normal hours. You can ask the security here, my people are the last people to get out every night because we work long hours. Even the Blue Ribbon Committee, they work long and hard every time we prepare. We are not gunslingers, Mr. President, that you call to a committee and then shoot somebody right away, kill his reputation. We go every step. We try to find out and trace and try to make a connection so that when we ask questions, they get caught. That is why we caught the two Chinese. We detained them and we got information from them. That is why cases are being filed already. That is why Mr. Taguba was forced to make the Tara. You will recall we even went there, and when he said he was going to say it, I remember Senator Angara said, sabihin mo na lang, and with all due respect, Senator Angara said, no, let him write it. I want to be sure he wrote it. We take great pains to be careful, Mr. President. We deal with reputations here. The gentleman who just spoke has a reputation to protect, and we respected him. I respect him. Even now, as a senator, I respect him. I'm not going to go down to the level of muckraking. I'm not going to wrestle with a pig. That was what my mother used to tell me. Huwag kang makipagbuno sa baboy. Ang baboy mahilig sa putik. Pag nakipagbuno ka sa baboy, mapuputikin ka. Kahit na ayaw mo sa gusto mo. I've never done that with any politician in my life, Mr. President. It's easy to do that. You're tempted to do that. But we will not, because this is the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines. Sometimes we forget that. Sometimes when we act outside, just this afternoon I was having lunch with my schoolmates. And some of them, as they're wont to do, being senior or graying men, they were showing a picture of a lewd picture. And they were giving it to me, and I said, I don't want to touch it. I'm a senator, and I don't want to touch it because baka may makakita sa akin, masabi pa na nakikisama ako dyan sa mga kalokohan na yan, na hindi na alam ko naman kalokohan lang natin, Jim Locker talk if you like, but I didn't do that. So, Mr. President, I would like to request the Senate to extract the words out to expunge the words Philippine Red Cross. He can accuse me of corruption. That is his privilege. But do not drag the Red Cross, especially when there is no proof of that. Oh, I know he's been looking for material in the Red Cross. We have our own enemies in the Red Cross, Mr. President. But I would like to expunge that in the record, if I may. If the Senate will. If he wants to file charges against me, he may do so. It's a free country. I'm ready to answer that. On that note, Mr. President, that is my humble request. Thank you very much.
Majority Leader, what is the... Is there a pending motion?
No, there is no motion. It is a request, Mr. President. I move that, this is my motion. I move that the request be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Okay.
We'll study the
Yes.
possibility
Because
of expunging.
We need to go over the
Yes.
transcript. Yes, that's
I
right.
think, Mr. President,
Yes,
may I-
before I process.
I believe the request is really a motion to strike off the record the word Red Cross. What the
Yes.
good gentleman from Subic is saying, that he's not objecting that he be called Korap. Wag lang ilagay yung pangalan na Red Cross.
Is the motion of the Majority Leader acceptable to Senator Gordon that the motion be referred to the Committee on Rules so that the transcript will be reviewed?
It seems a very simple request, and I'm not an unreasonable man. If we want to complicate the matter, we can refer it to the Committee on Rules. But I do mind, and I'm sure Senator Zubiri, who's in the Red Cross, and Senator Gatchalian, who's in the
Yes.
Red Cross as governors, will mind, but I will leave it
Yes,
to the best judgment.
the request is revolves around the mention of Red Cross. Okay, that's the... Any objection to the motion of the Majority Leader? Senator Trillanes?
Mr. President, I object to that motion precisely because I will be, the motion of Senator Gordon.
There is no motion, Mr. President. It is a request. He said it is a humble. We can look at the journal.
I
He
will
said
submit to the
It's a humble request
Majority Leader.
that we expunge the mention of Red Cross. I said
Right.
my motion is
Yes.
now to refer it to the Committee on Rules so that they can
Yes.
review what was said.
The pending motion is referral to Committee on Rules. Are you objecting, Senator Trillanes? No. Is there any objection? Hearing none?
Just one more final point, Mr. President. I have always respected the Philippine Military Academy. And one raw mistake, I will not charge the Philippine Military Academy. That's the whole point.
Okay, that's not an objection. Hearing none, the motion of the Majority Leader is approved.
Mr. President, there are a number of bills on the agenda, but the climate does not, the environment does not feel good. So I move to adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 6, 2017.
Any objection? Okay, there being none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, September 6, 2017.